Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in live tonight for the special Black History Month episode of Real Talk. Real Talk is a monthly show hosted by the Living Legacy Foundation of Maryland that focuses on various topics within the field of organ donation and transplantation. We're honored to highlight and discuss how violence and grief impact the families we serve and how we can all make a difference to work towards ending this cycle. My name is Morgan Phillips, and I'm the Hospital Services Coordinator at LLF. I have the pleasure of introducing to you tonight our moderator of the evening, Ms. Sonia Taylor. Each month, Real Talk will be moderated by one of our volunteer Donate Life ambassadors who all have a special connection to donation and or transplantation. Ms. Sonia Taylor is an experienced management and telecommunications professional providing strategic and creative leadership in the areas of electronic security, technology, project management, budgeting, financial management, and organizational development. She is currently employed with the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services as an electronic security system director. Ms. Sonia has been an active member and ambassador for the LLF since 2007. Most importantly, Ms. Sonia is the donor aunt of Jordan Taylor Brown, the aunt of Sterling Brown, and a tissue cornea recipient. Ms. Sonia, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
So tonight I am going to be introducing our panelists for tonight. So tonight we have Sterling Brown. Sterling Brown is a Baltimore native. After attending city schools, he went to CCBC Catonsville and is currently pursuing a business management degree at Strayer University. In 2008, after the tragic death of his youngest brother Jordan, he founded the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation, a nonprofit organization designed to promote ending community violence and inspire young people to make better choices. He is the foundation's current president and founder. He's a dedicated husband and father. He currently works for Verizon Wireless as a government account manager, and he is my nephew. Welcome, Sterling. We have with us Elder Garrett Williams, Sr., has founded numerous community organizations such as the Fellowship of Christian Athlete Park Heights St. Youth Football Program. He has been on staff at Sinai Hospital for 18 years as a youth outreach worker, helping young male victims of violence. Mr. Williams and his family has been residents of Park Heights for 32 years. He's a staple in that community.
That's right.
He is an active community leader, teaching young people purpose and values that they may live in Christ Jesus, and facilitate groups dealing with choices and consequences as various schools and organizations. Welcome, Coach Garrett.
Thank you.
Paulette William Tillery, PhD, has over 15 years experience working with underserved population, extensive experience educating future social workers. Dr. Tillery is a trained social worker committed to working with individuals and communities impacted by grief, chronic trauma, intergenerational trauma, incorporating an eclectic approach in therapeutic modalities. She currently oversees the Homicide Survival Advocacy Program at Roberta House in Baltimore and provides services to individuals impacted by homicidal loss in Prince George's County. Welcome, Dr. Tillery. Courtney joined the Living Legacy Foundation in July of 2016 as the Family Services Coordinator, supporting families through the donation process. She has a master's in social work from Salisbury University and serves as a community therapist on the Eastern Shore and a youth and family crisis counselor in Baltimore. As the Tissue Family Services Manager, Courtney oversees the tissue donation conversation and aftercare support for donor families. Courtney is a licensed clinical social worker, supervises and serves on councils for national organizations like the American Association of Tissue Banks. Welcome, Courtney. But we're going to get right down to this whole conversation. So let me start with you, Coach Garrett. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sinai Violence Intervention Program and how it support our local communities?
Yes, Sinai Violence Intervention Program started in 2014 with the understanding of trying to stop violence, resolving violence in the Park Heights community. It's a bedside activity where that if a person gets shot or stabbed in the Park Heights community, males from 18 to 25, I had the opportunity to go bedside and try to get them resources so they won't be a recycle of violence. This initiative, this pilot was put in place for the simple fact is that most young men that come to the hospital that need services don't come there unless they were shot or stabbed. And when they come there, they go right back out. They might be the victims, but then next thing you know, the next day they're the perpetrators. So we put that together to try to stop the recycle of violence, and also to be able to give them resources like workforce development, and also work with the whole family. Because most of the time, men think there's no services to try to benefit or help them. So this was put in place. I had the opportunity to help putting this in place, and I come to find out that this really works to help young men to try to get out of the cycle of violence. Also, a part of that violence intervention is working in the schools, mentoring the kids, 6th, 7th, 8th grade boys, dealing with bullying. So that's another part of it. But the main thing is trying to stop the recycling of this violence, where these young men could have resources and students to understand that life is very important.
Coach, we appreciate that. So Paulette, can you tell us a little bit about Roberta House and how your program can help?
Roberta's House is a grief and loss center that was established in 2007. We have various programs. It was founded by our president, Annette Marsh Greer, and her family. We have various programs, over 13 different programs that address grief and loss, particularly as it relates to adolescents, children, and families. One of those programs that I work closely with is the Homicide Transformation Project, which confront or help survivors of homicide confront their grief, deal with their grief, providing resources, linking them to various resources that are within the community, providing group facilitation. We have the Rays of Hope group, which is for the entire family of individuals who've been impacted by homicide. We have the Transformation Project, which is for adults who have experienced some type of loss, particularly as it relates to homicide, working with those individuals. Other programs, we're in 16 different schools in Baltimore City. We extended these services to Prince George's County in 2014, in which we also are working with individuals who've been impacted by homicide. Currently, I think we're at 12 different schools in Prince George's County, going into schools, which I think is very important, and working with young people and educating them on grief. Young people are also impacted by grief in various ways, and we look at the family as a whole. So we're looking at a holistic approach. Some of those programs that we're talking about, 13 different programs, we're looking at women who have lost babies in utero. We're looking again, adolescents, families, and children. So there are various programs that individuals come in. So we treat anybody coming through the doors of Roberta's House with dignity and respect, helping them be able to cope, helping them to be able to understand trauma, in which the trauma that they've been exposed to, maybe community, maybe in their homes, as well as trauma that they face, maybe developmental trauma in growing up. So we recently moved, which I'm excited to talk a little bit about. We have a larger center, is at 928 East North Avenue. We're still in the process. Things are still going up, and the staff is getting prepared to hopefully be able to welcome everybody back for in-person services. Right now, all of our group services are offered virtually, so we never stopped. During the pandemic, we continued to offer grief and loss group sessions for families and individuals who have been impacted by some form of loss. So hopefully it'll open soon, so everybody will be able to come in. There's been so many questions about this new center that's right in our urban population. It just serves as a pillar of hope within that particular community. So we're excited, the community excited. We look forward to continuing services with those individuals who have been impacted by some type of loss. Thank you for having me.
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much. I know we'd be excited. Everyone wants to get back to that personal connection, human
Mhm.
connection. So that's a great, great idea. You guys are coming, you're coming to the community. So I really appreciate that. So you'll see how tonight we'll all kind of put everything together. So Courtney, as a grief professional, can you please explain what is the traumatic grief and loss, and what is its potential impact? So if you can kind of bring it all together for us right here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start off with just saying that everyone's grief journey is individual. And so some of the examples that I'm going to give doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to follow in a specific line. But when we're thinking of traumatic loss, a death that's considered traumatic is something that, without warning or untimely, often can involve violence. The example of homicide that I know kind of ties into what Paulette was mentioning, and then also trauma in itself. So often our interpretation of the death has a lot to do with that, so that we all come with different life experiences, and sometimes some of us come with different traumatic experiences. And so our interpretation of that death can make that more traumatic during our grief process. And some of the impacts that people often feel have to do with more distress, and sometimes they're at higher risk for post-traumatic stress disorder when they are going through that grieving process. And then if you do have any underlying mental health concerns prior to that death, sometimes that all of that can resurface together too.
Thank you so much. So it's kind of personal for Sterling and I. So we understand a little bit about each one of the homicides. So we know that different connection, the connection that we have with Sinai, and the intervention that you have, and then Roberta House, where you actually help the family, and then how that grief actually impact. So Sterling, you here tonight joining us as a family member of an organ donor, where Jordan was an organ donor. Can you please tell us about our family member, your brother, my nephew? Can you tell us a little bit about Jordan Taylor Brown?
Sure, sure. I'll try to keep this brief by telling you about Jordan. I could probably say it for about 3 hours, but so Jordan he grew up as the baby of the family. Of course, he grew up in a large family, as you can see. My aunt Sonia, he has two older brothers. Of course, a mother and father. We all grew up together in the same household. He also grew up with, again, a large family for my mother's side of the family and my father's side of the family, and we all grew up in the same Emerson Village area. So if you could see one street, we pretty much grew up in the middle of Rokeby Road. My father's parents lived at the end of Rokeby Road, and my mother's parents lived at the top of Rokeby Road. So as you can imagine, us growing up, we really didn't get a chance to get into any trouble, because anytime we were outside, a family member is driving down this street. And, back in those days, everybody in the neighborhood knew each other. So you even knew everybody's parents, their grandparents. You knew who Miss So-and-so was up the street. But Jordan, he grew up, again, playing basketball. So he had a lot of friends, many friends. He was a jokester, funny, loving, caring person. So again, growing up with Jordan, a lot of people, gravitated towards Jordan. So throughout his life, again, he grew up playing sports, basketball through the Enrico Recreation Facility. Then he went on to play Woodlawn High School basketball, where he actually was a member of the varsity team as a ninth grader. So again, through those times of his 4 years in high school, he had a lot of friends, older friends. Again, he has two older brothers, and my friends and my middle brother's friends, they all love Jordan. So again, it's a large family of folks who love Jordan. Then at the age of 21, he actually lost his life due to gun violence. And I know sometimes when people hear gun violence, they perceive that it's some kind of altercation that happened. But in this particular instance, it was no altercation at all. It was the wrong place, wrong time, and a younger brother shooting shots into a passing vehicle that happened to pass by an intersection one too many times for the liking of the folks that are standing out there. So, I mean, again, I could go on and on about Jordan, but here you have it. That's a pretty small dosage of Jordan Brown.
Oh, thank you so much, Sterling. And Sterling talked a little bit about Jordan and how everyone gravitated to Jordan. Jordan was actually the baby, and he acted like the baby, but he had one of those smiles that was so contagious. Whenever you was around him and he was smiling, you couldn't do anything but smile. So you'll see pictures around town of Jordan smiling. So thank you so much, Sterling. But let's just dig a little further into Jordan's legacy. Let's talk a little bit about why and how we decided to come about with the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation. If you could tell the audience about the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation a little bit.
Sure. So after his timely death, 2007, about a year or so went by, and as you say, Jordan was loved by so many. I just felt like I didn't want to let his name go in vain from just like a accidental gun violence situation that so many others possibly have, not by their family, but may have been forgotten about in our city. So what I did was actually created the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation, not only to honor the life of Jordan Taylor Brown, but also to be somewhat of a change agent in the community, just to make sure, we kind of promote ending violence. And to be quite honest, it was actually geared towards the young man who's standing on the corner with a firearm. Just so if he was able to have more resources, Jordan would possibly still be alive, as well as himself, if he had more resources coming up to where being outside on the corner, I would say toting a firearm and doing whatever, some young folks stray down that avenue. If we could avoid having those guys on that corner, then, maybe, their lives would be different. Jordan will be here. So with the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation, if we could just save a few folks from standing out there on that corner and going down that avenue, then we've done what we needed to do. So with our foundation, we do things like annual basketball tournament at Woodlawn High School, where again, it's in Jordan Taylor Brown's name, but we want to make sure we promote spreading peace, not violence. We do book bag giveaways at Thomas Jefferson Elementary School. We also normally we give out Thanksgiving meals to folks who are impacted by gun violence around the Thanksgiving time, because we know how how hard that can be when you are experiencing something traumatic like that during those times. I'm sure families don't even want to get up to even cook anything for Thanksgiving. And we've also adopted families for Christmas, where we provided toys and things of that nature. And also through my Aunt Sonia here, we've also done career days at Thomas Jefferson Elementary. And I say Thomas Jefferson Elementary because that's where Jordan, myself, my brother Travis Brown, a host of our family, we all grew up in that the top of the Emerson Village area, and we went to school there at Thomas Jefferson Elementary. So again, so for the most part, that's pretty much what the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation is doing now. We love to do more things, but like I said, if we could just save a few kids from being that kid that goes on that corner and throws away his life, again, if we could provide certain resources so they're not even in that environment, then we've done our job.
Oh, thanks so much, Sterling. So we're going to circle back a little bit, because what happens is you'll find that it's really a circle. The Jordan's death actually brought about a lot of change, and the change actually brought about at Sinai. So I'm going to circle back to Coach Garrett and what we found out once Jordan was at Sinai, because that's the hospital that he was actually sent to during the fact that he was when he was shot. And we were actually got involved with Living Legacy Foundation during the time. So that's going to be able to have me circle back to you, Coach Garrett. And let's just talk about a little bit of how has the volunteering impact the youth that you work with in this type of environment?
Thanks. What Sterling just was talking about touched my heart, because I forgot to add a few other things that we do at Sinai, where that we have expanded from the Sinai Violence Intervention Program in 2020, where now that we are called the Sinai Response Team. hospital response team, where that we go out, we work along with Safe Streets, where that Sinai has Safe Streets as employees that goes straight to the streets and kind of work with these individuals that he was talking about to engage with them and find out what's going on in the community to deal with conflict resolutions. We was mostly up under Baltimore City Child Abuse Center. Now we call a Center of Hope, which that we have a facility being built in Park Heights along with the Safe Streets building that they just built to try to engage with this community to try to bring safety to them and be able to deal with the community. But as far as this, the youth dealing with the youth, I have been able to do the football, but I've noticed in mentoring in the schools. But the youth, I found out that they just need people to engage with them and believe in them. And one thing I found out about talking to the youth, they don't care how much you say you care till you show them much you care. Back in the day, a mother and a father or a neighbor up the street tell you something, it was God. But nowadays, these kids, you got to kind of like form a relationship with them. You have to come down a little bit lower to where they at and try to understand what they've seen. As this trauma is very real, this trauma that we deal with, it doesn't separate from anybody, rich, poor, brown, white, or whatever. And in this Black community, it has engaged in so much trauma, not just for the individual, but the whole family. So with these youth, when they come to me with me as far as the football and mentoring in the schools, they come with so many challenges that I didn't have when I was their age. Because they seen so much. So how I engage with them, tell them that I believe in them, and I teach them that their first name is choices and their last name is consequences. And whatever lies they might have heard in the past that a cat had 9 lives, I tell them that's not so, and neither do you. And you need to guard your life with importance. And then I also believe in investing in these young people.
Yeah.
And when you invest in them, they know you care.
Yeah.
When the name that they call me Coach G is just like having a driver's license. Everybody got a driver's license, but everybody can't drive, and these kids know it.
That's right. That's
right.
right.
These kids know if you care. So when I'm engaged with these youth, they come and they tell me the truth. And when they tell me the truth, I just don't leave it just laying there on the bookshelf. I go into the house with a family, and I want to know what's going on. And when I find out what's going on, I'm so proud to be an employee of Sinai Hospital, because we do have all these resources where I go to them, and then they give me these resources, and I take it back to the community and serve the community where they say, oh, okay, we can do this. And then in the community where I'm from up in Park Heights, this community is a great part of me. And when I say people don't care how much you say you care till you show how much you care, we have to engage with these youth and let them be a part of something. They are not the future. And I don't use that statement. They are the now. They're not living in the future. We got to deal with these youth right now. And how you deal with them, you let them feel a part of the community. You let them invest in the community. Let them have things in the community. So as far as dealing with the youth, I'm just a participant. They run the show. I'm just the one praying and overseeing them as the elder, saying, you can do this. You can do all things. So I have great hope for these young people. They believe in me. But most of all, I believe in them. And so that's how I've been able to deal and change this community up here. I have 200 kids on my football team. We're national champions. Amen. So we've been all over the world, all over the state. So Park Heights is known for football, but most of all, I use football as a vehicle. They want to play football. I want them to live. Somebody need to say amen.
Amen.
So that's the thing that I'll be dealing with these youth. They are very important to me. And when one died, it's too many dying.
That's
so the
right.
thing about it is these kids need to live. And what happened to little young Sterling's brother, it probably could have been avoided if we had more people to go to the community and talk. You should never be scared of your community. And how you go into your community, you welcome yourself. What happens is people in Park Heights, they've been lied to so much. So it's so much hurt and pain that they have through so much poverty and so many other things that they're dealing with. You have to go into them and talk to them and believe in them, and you just don't leave them. You give them a little bit of sugar, give them a little bit of honey, then you roll out, then they don't see you no more. You got kids still look for their father that was said he'll be back in a couple hours, and he ain't been back in 20 years. So with these kids, if you said you're going to do something, you got to do it.
Absolutely.
I say you got to do it. So that's what I do up in Park Heights with these youth. I wouldn't have it no other way. I'm here to stay.
I hear you. That's great. That's great. You know, Sterling, you're gonna have to get your football team together and
Oh
go
yeah,
head
yeah,
on up
yeah.
there and compete
I
with
was,
and
That's
compete
right.
with Coach Garrett because he running stuff up there in Park Heights.
That's
So
right.
I was going,
you're gonna have to show him a little something, something.
I was going,
Okay,
All right.
with your football team.
I was going to mention that by the end of the call that I'm volunteering this year for 11 under at Pikesville, so we're gonna have to talk after the call, maybe do a scrimmage up there
Oh,
at
yeah.
Park Heights.
You're gonna have to show us something.
I know you
Paulette,
heard of the States. I know you heard of the States, though.
Paulette and Courtney, what do you see as the most important takeaway to families working through their own grief process? You know, I know we had some working through, and we worked through it with the Jordan Taylor Brown. But can you guys elaborate on that for me? Either one of you, or both of you.
I think grief is it's a process. We watch families come through the doors of a Berta's house, and we offer them group services and other resources as needed. And we watch them come in a lot of times broken, and everybody's at a different place. We watch the children, the small children come in, the middle children come in. We watch adolescents come through. We watch the adults, and they all grieve differently. It's not the same. We don't just take this thing called grief and just package it in one packet and say, okay, go, and everybody deal with the same way in the family. It is like a roller coaster ride. It's up, it's down. It's unique to each individual in that particular family. You can have a family of a mother, father, and kids. Everybody in that family will grieve a little bit differently. It comes out differently. We see children sometimes act out. We see children become very, very angry when they lose individuals. And sometimes people don't understand what's going on with that particular child. And a lot of times it has to do with some form of loss. We also see adults who come in, particularly when we talk about homicide, who are very angry. We talk about individuals who will come in sometimes from dissembled communities. It's not just post-traumatic stress, it is continuous stress. You see it every day, all day long. It's not uncommon to see police cars and ambulance and to hear gunshots. You know, it's very, very traumatizing for individuals. It's not uncommon to hear young people talk about the violence as though it's so normal. It's not uncommon now for young people to lose someone. You know, when I was growing up, I don't think I lost anyone. But now, at least one out of every 5 children have lost someone. So it's
Yeah.
becoming something that's very, very common. Grief, again, is unique to those individuals. It is ups and downs and the roller coaster ride. Individuals come in, we offer the 10-week group sessions. They come in broken. A lot of times what we do is we start that healing process. We educate people on grief and what does grief feel like. That is not abnormal to feel sad at times. It's not abnormal to feel so much disparity and hopelessness about your future. There's nothing abnormal about that. That's called grief. And surprisingly to some people, they say, oh, wow, nothing's wrong with me. No, nothing's wrong with you. You're going through the grief journey right now. And this is a journey you're taking, and you're getting into your new normalcy. You know, living without that particular loved one can be devastating, not only to that particular family, to the community. So the community also faces loss. So we lose the victim, we lose someone from that family, and the community also faces some type of loss. So grief is something that we're now beginning to understand. Grief is something that we no longer have to suppress, that we can talk about our feelings, we can talk about our emotions. Grief is something that men can cry. Yes, it is okay to cry. And for a long time, people have suppressed their emotions because we have been taught to suppress our emotions. We have been taught not to grieve. But now we're teaching people that it is okay to grieve. It is okay to process your emotions and to talk about it. And you don't have to go at this alone. There's many support programs out here that are working with individuals, that are teaching individuals about grief and starting with very, very young people. And this is why going into the school system is so important, in being able to go in and allow young people to be able to process that grief and process that anger before it hits the street. This is why it's so important to be able to work with those particular families and how they come in and they find commonalities and similarities in a peer group support platform in which they learn from each other and they hear, oh, you feeling that way too? I'm not only feeling homicidal, but sometimes suicide. There's so many different emotions that come along with grief. And then as we start to talk about it, we begin to know that grief is a natural response to some type of loss. It doesn't have to be losing an individual, it could be losing a house. We're looking at individuals who have been impacted by COVID-19. So many people lost their life. We turn on our TVs. You can't avoid it. You have to talk about it. So this is all we see on a daily basis is loss. So it is a process. It takes time. You're not going to just lose someone and in 30 days you're over. No, it doesn't work like that. And again, it takes time for each individual as they begin to process that loss.
Yeah, we understand. Sterling and I both can relate to that, and I think that's the fact that we have the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation and we do things to honor Jordan, help us, the family as a whole, get through that grieving process. So it's not like he's absolutely gone. So we absolutely feel that. So Courtney, you want to add to Dr. Tillery?
She said everything perfectly. One other important aspect that I just wanted to add is I think a lot of times it's hard for us to take care of ourselves when we're grieving, especially if we're maybe a parent and we have young children and we're worried about them. And so it's really giving yourself permission to take care of yourself. And like Paulette was saying, go through those grief workshops, those grief sessions, therapy, reach out to family and friends because you're not alone and it is a journey. And so there's really no timestamp on it.
Thanks so much. Thank you both for that. So let me circle back to Coach Garrett and Sterling a little bit. So what can anyone watching tonight do to support our communities and help to end the epidemic of violence in our community? Can you give us some ideas on what folks could do to kind of get us away from this cycle?
You can go ahead, Coach Garrett.
Okay, yes, I appreciate that. This cycle of violence is serious and very real. It's even real to little babies. With babies, if you can teach babies at an early age that they loved or unlovable. So what happens is in the community that feels hopelessness and sees no hope is a place of disaster. What I've advised for people to do is love people till they change. Don't expect people to change, love them till they change. And also remember how it feels to be rejected. Rejection is a sign or a feeling that nobody wants to feel, but everybody seems like loving to pour it on to somebody else. You don't wake up in the morning, can't wait to be rejected because it's painful. So I would advise the community, the ones living in the community, as a matter of fact, to go to the centers or go to the schools. If you go inside the schools and you see the teachers can't even teach in the school because of children's behavior, but then you look at the teachers, how they are so exhausted or how they talk to that little baby because the baby has not got comfortable to understand what school is about. And it comes with patience. Back in the day, people had a lot more patience. I would ask the people that's doing anything or putting their hands on anything in the community to have patience. To have patience with the community. Look at the community the way you would want to see the community, and then look at the way other people might want to see to believe how it should be. And I say this to say this, that people come into a community or come to somebody's area to try to change them. You can't change nobody.
That's right.
Change comes from within when people feel as though they need to be changed. So how you teach people they need to be changed, you got to love them first. In order to love them, you got to feed them. You got to believe in them. And you got to do all these things. And it was a scripture in the Bible. I always have to go there, that what you done for the least of them, you done unto me. And what people doing now is not doing that. And the effect of it is this is a generational curse. And when I see a mother walking down, which when I was a baby too, my mother never cussed me out, never called me a B, never said F you and this and that. And when I walk down the street to see a little young lady with a baby in a carriage, excuse me, telling the baby to shut the, blank up.
Talk about it.
That hurts me. That hurts me because I want to know who's telling this young lady that ain't the way you should conduct yourself. Because now this baby hears this and this baby responds to that. So that baby only going to respond to what it believes it needs to respond to. We got to change this generational curse by love and understanding that we have to believe in people and learn how to acknowledge and talk to them like human beings. And when we see the young men out there, you know, you got to realize that they the way they are because their friends is telling them they're their best friend. This is what we do. But back in the day, that ain't what we did. I'm not used to death. I've never been used to death.
No.
First time a young man died in my presence when I was 15 years old, and we were skating up. I lived in Emerson Village too, there, Sterling. I lived on Monastery Avenue. This is 100 block, and I went to 71 up there too, and I went to 91 around the corner. But anyway, but it was called Gwynns Falls. But anyway. Anyway, we used to hop the buses with this roller skates, Ball Burns #5 before Sterling was even born.
Look at what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you how it all started, though. But that's how the community. But we lived in a dangerous area, but it wasn't dangerous to us.
Yeah.
Community took care of each other. And as Sterling was stating about the relatives down the street at one corner, the other ones up at the other corner, where everybody on our streets was our relatives. Or we thought they was anyway, the way they talked was, you better not do this. And so what happens is we have to go back to dealing with these younger kids. They're not living to get older. So I usually deal with the younger kids. So simple fact is I'm trying to stop that cycle of violence. And I'm trying to tell them they are important because some kids just do things what they see. So anyway, that's how I believe that somebody come into the community or how a community could be rebuilt and revitalized with love and understanding. And change takes time, just like trauma. Is you don't gauge the time, you just know the time will change, and it will come.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. I mean, you hit home. I mean, you're talking about the skates and the What are you talking about? They don't even know anything about that. I mean, we got to get back to showing that there's love and showing that they are loved and that we love them and respect them and we really appreciate them. Sterling, you want to elaborate a little bit on?
You know, like what Coach Garrick said, that the love word was major. Definitely, you know, encouraging kids. Just to give you some background about how we grew up, like Coach Garrick was saying, a lot of my buddies growing up, they didn't have a father. So I would encourage folks and they look to my father as their father. So that's kind of what I do now. So if my daughters or somebody I see out here in the neighborhood, you got to grab a few of those kids. And, you know, a lot of my buddies, when my father signed me up for basketball or exposed me to different things outside of the neighborhood, my friends came along with me. So not only was I going to the basketball practice, 2 or 3 of my other buddies were going that didn't have a father to be able to take them. So it's a multi-layered conversation as far as what everybody can do to help. But I definitely would say, you know, grab a few people that you can help and encourage people to understand that it's okay. You don't have to be the tough guy and act out of violence. And you can still be the cool guy in the neighborhood. You don't have to, you know, when we come up, you know, people want to be the tough guy. And of course, when, you know, you see the tough guys, they normally don't make it too far. But once we start changing our environments and start making it cool to talk things out, you know, not to be, you know, out here fighting or the first time some kind of interaction happens, you know. And again, I know a lot of that comes with pain and people not knowing what to do. So I mean, that's just something small. I would say is just grab a couple of kids and expose them to something different. And you've done your part by just, you know, showing them something different than what they're used to seeing. So.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sterling. A lot of comments are coming across the chat where folks are saying that it takes a village, and it definitely does take a village, and we really need to get back to that. But let me just ask Dr. Tillery and Courtney, what recommendations do you have for anyone watching tonight that wants to support someone they love who is experiencing traumatic grief or maybe experiencing it themselves? I mean, how do we want to reach out to those individuals that are listening and we can help them?
Yeah, I think when you have a family member or a friend that's going through that, one of the most important things is just to say something and be there for them, even if it's just checking in to let them know that you're there. Sometimes that silence can be even more isolating for those people who are going through the grief process or experiencing that traumatic loss. I think that's a really key point. And you can't really say anything wrong if you're just kind of reaching out and just letting them know that you're there.
Mhm. I agree. I agree with Courtney. Just offering support. Most of the individuals that are coming to our program, they just want to know that somebody's there to listen to them.
Right.
You know, we have a 24/7 support line for our survivors of homicide. And sometimes they just call just to process what's happening. They're trying to make meaning or trying to make sense out of something that we just don't understand. Why would someone take someone else's life? And they're just trying to figure out why. You know, we have those questions and those whys. We can't answer those whys, but we can listen. We can be supportive. We can reach out and we can help out individuals, find out what their specific needs are. We also don't want to just assume that people need certain things or don't need certain things. It's okay to ask. It's okay to say the person's name. I'm sorry, I have to bend down to plug in. It's okay to say the person's name. A lot of times people don't think, I don't know how to approach this person. Should I approach this person? Can I say this person's name? Yes, it's okay. People need to hear that you're going to be there. They just want sometimes another ear that's going to listen to them as they process their grief, because they're trying to understand and make sense out of something that makes no sense at all. You know, when it's particularly as it relates to sudden death and homicide and the violence that we are exposed to, the violence that our children are growing up in and day out. So I would say just offer the support, whatever support that you can do, be there to support those individuals through this difficult time.
You're right, Dr. Toby. You're so right on it, because it's difficult, especially when a family lose a loved one suddenly. You don't know how you want to be able to kind of, say that person's name that they lost, because you don't know how the family gonna react. So you want to make sure that you keep them and engaged. It's when you say their names. Whenever I would go out and speak about Jordan, I would always say, I'm keeping his legacy alive and I'm keeping him alive. And not only does that, it actually helped me to deal with the fact that Jordan was taken from us so suddenly. So it's easier. It's never going to be easy that he's going to be gone, but it's easier to deal with the fact that he's in heaven, and we're still making sure that his vision and his legacy is living on. The fact that I'm involved in Living Legacy Foundation is because of Jordan and because of Sinai Hospital and because of the fact that he was an organ donor and because his family and his friends decided that they wanted to be organ donors. That bring the whole circle for us, and that's why we are together. But I'm going to transition and let each one of you kind of talk about your organization and what advice would you give to the people that are actually listening to us tonight to become involved in your organization, and what can they do to help and try to get us through this process that we in tonight. Because if you leave the mic to me, I'm gonna talk about Jordan for the next 15 minutes that we have here, and y'all not gonna get any time. So I'm gonna train.
You actually hit on the part I wanted to jump in, because that was a major part that I missed of the whole Jordan story. Is the fact that when he lost his life, we were made aware that he was an organ donor, which is how we actually got here. And I do want to thank Living Legacy Foundation for everything that they do, because again, my whole goal was to keep Jordan's name alive, and Living Legacy Foundation has partnered with us and to help us keep Jordan's name alive. And because he was an organ donor, he is also living in 7 other lives and who was able to help them move on as well. So that was the part that I missed. I'm sorry. I wanted to say that earlier. So
That's okay. I got your back, nephew.
Oh.
It takes a village. Yeah. So Coach Garrett, come on, tell us a little bit of how folks can get involved with you.
Well, first of all, I appreciate it. I like to give a shout out to as well to Living Legacy, because they do a lot in a lot of communities you might not have heard of. They come up in Park Heights. They've been up here. Latrice has worked alongside me up here, and I had a few activities or events inside this building here, trying to get people to be donors. And also, she's been out there on the front line, because you got to be on the front line. You can't be on the sidelines. If you say you in the game, put me in the game, coach. I'm gonna put you in the game. you ain't got to carry no water.
Yeah.
But my program is based on, I appreciate it so much, where that these kids and these adults think that I'm important. They are important to me, because without them, it would not be me. They give me purpose. So first of all, if you want to do something in the community or somewhere else, you got to understand the reason why you're doing it, because you can be more harmful doing something than not doing something. So when you want to do something, what is your purpose of doing something? Well, my purpose of doing what I do is to make sure people understand that they need to live and they can't die, and God has a purpose for their life. And so what I do, once again, I feed the community and do all these things. But how y'all could help out, we have a Father's Day cookout. We have it every year, the day before Father's Day. Why the day before Father's Day? I'm glad you asked. The reason why we had the day before Father's Day is because we want the whole community to come. And everything is free. We have the moon bouncers, the kids. And we want the kids to understand, even if a father is not there, it might be an uncle. And we want them to get on these ponies. I bring the ponies out there in Park. Yes, we have ponies in Park Heights.
You telling your age, coach. You telling your age, coach.
Well, guess what? I'm still glad to be alive to be able to tell. So we have the ponies come out the day before Father's Day. We have all the food. I'm gonna tell you something, and always invite other people to participate. I have great friends and partners in Columbia, Grace Community Church, Grace Timonium Church in Timonium, Central Presbyterian Church, and so many other different people that partners with me. And most of the time, these people that partner with me don't live in Park Heights. These are people from afar. And the reason why I say that, don't despise little small beginnings, or let people come into the community to help. Not run the community, but come in to see what you need as resources to help the community. Because I can't do this alone. And what happens is that the football, yes, I need some 6-year-olds and some 7-year-olds. So moms, dads, I mean, I see Sterling there checking me out. I'm recruiting right now, Sterling. I want 6-year-olds, I want 7-year-olds, and their registration is free. I want 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and I want some 11-year-olds. I don't care how much they weigh. Don't worry about it. I got weightlifting machines. We got good fruit to eat. We got fresh vegetables and everything. So I want them to come out. We be out there every Saturday from 12 to 3 right now. But we distancing right now, but the program actually starts with the spring football, and then we're gonna have the fall football, and then all that is free. 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, your registration is free. The Park Heights Saints, FCA Park Heights Civic Society Saints, your registration is free, uniforms and everything. I want the 11-year-olds as well. Now, as far as the adults, I'd like for you to come out and maybe come around and maybe help work with a concession stand, help keep the community clean with the fields. But first of all, we're going to do the Father's Day. We're going to get together and give away coats. We're going to come up to Pimlico Elementary Middle School and do some volunteering there. See, first of all, it's the same way as the churches and the bishops and the preachers. In order to become a preacher, you should clean a bathroom first. In order to become a bishop, you should go somewhere and serve somebody first. So my whole thing is, once again, titles are very important, but serving is one of the most important things you can ever do in life. Because if you change one person's life, guess what? You change the whole multitude of lives. But if you live in this world, you ain't changed nobody's life. That means you never lived.
That's right. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach, for that. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Tillby, I'm gonna take it on over there to you now and see what we can do at the Roberta House to help out.
Roberta's House. I'm just so excited to hear that you're keeping Jordan's memory alive. And that's what we do. This is what we do. Encourage our survivors or individuals who come in and who've lost someone to whatever type of loss it may have been. It's to keep their memory alive. We have volunteers, and so we're always looking for more volunteers. And we ask people to go to www.robertashouse.org to come and participate and volunteer and get involved in the group process. We have it right now. Everything is offered virtually, all of our sessions. We did not miss a beat. We just kept it going. We know when it was shut down in person, we continue those particular services virtually, but we can always utilize volunteers. Because we have this new center, we are selling bricks that, you can keep your loved one's memory alive, when you can purchase a brick. So we're still in the process of doing that. Again, www.robertashouse.org if you want to purchase a brick. Donations are always welcome. We're always trying to keep our programs going so that we can continue to serve more individuals who have lost someone, who have been impacted by crime, who have been impacted by various different types of loss, particularly in particular communities. So donations, volunteer, whatever you can do to really give back, as you said, Coach Garrett, in giving and serving. And this is what we see at Roberta's House. We have a lot of individuals that come in that just simply want to give back. And a lot of these individuals have lost someone themselves, and now they have taken their tragedy and they have turned it to some type of purpose, much like with Jordan's memory.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Courtney, what can folks do to help out at the Living Legacy Foundation in your area?
Thanks, Sonia. Like Coach Garrett mentioned, we're out in the community. Things are a little bit different now with COVID, but we're out doing as much as we can and have turned a lot of our events virtual. We also have a volunteer program. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can check out our website as well. And then for any families out there in the community that you don't have to be a donor family, we offer free grief support workshops. They are all virtual right now as well, and that can be found on our website. Feel free to email us if you need any community referrals for support, anything along those lines. And then if you have any questions about how to become registered as a donor, any questions about being a donor in general, we're always willing to answer those and talk to you guys about that.
Thank you so much, Courtney. So we have probably about 6 more minutes left. So what I'm going to do with my 6 minutes that I have left, because I'm the moderator, I am going to actually give you guys one more time for one message that you want to leave our audience. If you could just give them one thing that they could take with them tonight as it relates to helping out the community, being involved, just one little thing that you want to leave our audience with. And let me start with Dr. Tillers first. And if you could just give the audience one thing you would like to leave them with, you have the floor.
Well, I would just want to say, as it relates to grief, you don't have to grieve alone. There are people that are there to be able to support you through this particular process. I know that we're looking at horrific crimes day in and day out. And when you lose someone to homicide or lose someone in life in general, you feel alone, but you don't have to be alone. All you have to do is reach out. Roberta's House is there to provide those resources and to help you get through your journey. You don't have to, because you've experienced violence, you don't have to become violent. So there are resources that are there. I know I got a few minutes. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
No worries. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure we get everybody in. And okay. Coach Garrett, the one thing you want to leave our audience with tonight.
Don't ever think that you're too old to make a difference. Don't ever think you're too young to make a difference. Just smiling at someone, you just made a difference. So whatever you do it to the glory of God first and the person that you're giving that considerate to. You can do something very great and fine. You can. You don't need nobody else to come. Because here's the story. Nobody else coming. We're already here. You can do it.
Courtney, if you would like to leave the audience with your last bit of something that they can carry with them.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on just being there for somebody who's going through the grief process, even just one person, no matter your relationship, neighbor, grandmother, friend, coworker, just that one person that they can connect with and know that they're there for that support can make a huge difference in their grief journey. And that's the most important thing.
So Sterling, as we leave tonight with Black History Month and honoring Jordan, what was the last thing that you would like to leave the audience with, so that they will remember what we've done here, and that you can leave them with a lasting memory of honoring Jordan and what he's done in the community?
I kind of wanted to. I don't know how you guys feel. I wanted to shout out some people that inspire me, who aren't, like Coach Garrick said, are in the front line while we have this audience with a few minutes left. These are some of my buddies that are on the front line that I want the people that are watching to also go follow, who are helping out in the community as well, and they do a lot. Really quickly, Jarrell Wilson for my kids, and that's KID with a Z. If you guys want to check him out, he's on the front line. He's been doing this for years. Darren Rogers, he has an I Am Mentality organization. If you want to research those guys, he's trying to build up $30,000 right now to help out. He does a lot. These guys inspire me to keep going as well. Shelly Stevens with Shelly's Helping Hands, he's in the Emerson Village community. Tavon Mason, he has Tavon Mason Love the Kids Foundation, and a buddy of mine, Arthur Lewis, he has Team of We. So if you guys can check those guys out too. Again, they inspire me. All of those guys are brothers like myself that are on the front line every day. But again, I just want, as long as everybody is doing something to help out and help our communities by ending violence, then you've done your job. Even if you just grab one child and just expose them to something different, so we can have a different avenue of coming up in this community. So.
Well, I thank you all. I thank you all. I thank you all. I thank you all. The conversation tonight has been amazing. It has been amazing. I have learned a lot about the Roberta House and Dr. Tiller. I am going to circle myself back around to you. Coach Garrett, I am going to circle myself back around to you. If I don't do anything more than pick up something and help another kid, I promise you I will circle back to all of you. I have been with Living Legacy Foundation, carrying the legacy of Jordan since 2007. And that's when I really began to see, even though I am a cornea recipient, have been a cornea recipient since 1992, but did not understand the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation until the Lord said that Jordan needed to come home, and understanding that he made the decision at 16 when he got his driver's license that he wanted to help someone else. So he actually opened my eyes to see the importance of helping individuals. And I am committed to making sure that his legacy lives as long as I'm alive. And I will do everything that I can do in the community to make sure that we try to end violence. But I want to thank the panelists tonight. You guys have been amazing. Please stay well. Please stay safe. And Living Legacy Foundation, we want to thank you for your support in the community, especially in the Park Heights community where you are so prevalent, and for helping out the Jordan Taylor Brown Foundation and for the work that you do with the Roberta House. We want to thank you so very, very much. Good night, everyone. And please remember to be an organ donor and designate it yourself. Thank you so much. And it's been a great evening.
See you guys later.
God bless.